All right. All right, guys, how we doing? Another week in the books. A lot of ups, a lot of downs for everybody. Like to welcome in, Coach Phenom for his second week on the pod. How you doing?
They're good. Not so good this week, though.
Oh yeah, and we got a guest on tonight, Mr. Price, new hashtag Girl Dad. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So we're just gonna dive right into it. Anything you guys want to say before we get started?
I don't really like fantasy football right now, but we can proceed.
Yeah, I feel that on a deep level. So we're just gonna dive right in. I'm gonna share my screen here, and we're gonna get rocking and rolling on this pod. So yeah, I mean, I'll just look at my matchup first. I mean, I got a lot of really bad things to say about my team. Just a lot of dudes just not doing it right now. I mean, I had some bye week issues, but just a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. I mean, I'm getting 50 points out of Justin Fields, and we can't. The rest of the guys can't put more than 50 together with themselves. So I'm just in a real bad mood with these guys. I would have beaten a good handful of teams this week, but you play who you play, and just to hit on Team Bucher before I'll let you guys get in there. His team looks like a team that's really going to hit a run here. Jonathan Taylor, all of a sudden, looks like himself again. CeeDee Lamb finally getting the ball. Kenneth Walker's an animal. I mean, his team looks like it's going to be really tough to beat. But what you think of Phenom?
Which team we talking about here?
Either one, man. You get in there.
Okay, so just man, you caught me off guard. I was just enjoying that glass of wine I had poured. So just to recap.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is definitely an interesting one. I didn't see this one going the way it did. Fields putting up the amount of points that he's been putting up, a couple weeks in a row here, and you got a pretty heavy hitting crew here. So I kind of expected him to take the win on this one, but Geno Smith definitely and his crew can't be underrated, and then Lamb just put up some serious points this week. So good fight. You cracked 100. A lot of teams did not this week, but Team Bucher, just like old Georgia's team, those teams just put up incredible points this week, and I don't think anyone was going to be able to take them. But going into next week, you got Stevenson coming back, and I think there's a lot of outlook for what's down the road.
Yeah, I'm down, but I'm not out. That's what I'll say. But what are you thinking, Ryan?
A couple of things that stand out to me is just how disappointing Debo is this year. I mean, you would have thought he's been week in, week out like some of these top receivers, and he just hasn't. I mean, that Green Bay Dallas game was intense. CeeDee Lamb was catching everything. And really Tony Pollard benefited from Zeke being out. So he got a lot of points just out of that one game between Lamb and Pollard there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
a couple disappointments. Kamara, Samuel. I mean, those two. That's tough.
That was my first and second round picks.
Yeah.
I was going to highlight that, but
It's tough to have a QB drop 50 and nobody else even getting your 15. But
yeah,
that's fantasy football for you.
not wrong. Yeah, that was my highlight. I mean, Deebo Samuel, anytime he's on the field, is the most dynamic player out there, and he's getting the ball, getting 10 times a game. That's just not acceptable. That's a guy that's got to get the ball 15 times, in my opinion. But that's just me. But moving on to the next one, I don't want to spend too much time here. I mean, Team Nate's just in a downward spiral. I mean, has some talent, but I mean, look at that running back position. Joe Mixon coming back, Darren Waller going down. It's going to hurt. He left Dak on the bench, but literally it worked out for him in that. But I mean, Rock Boys, 88.9 points, nothing to get excited about, but a win's a win. Your record says you are, and 6-4 is all right. But what do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty awful game. I would have loved to have played one of these teams this week instead of losing when I put up 115. But yeah, surprising. I think this is like the first game AJ Brown really had a stinker. If Nate got just an average game out of him last night, he would have easily got that win. But yeah, not a whole lot to take away. I offered Nate a few trades in the past for a running back, and he turned me down. So that's
what I hear.
That's
what
what
happens. The two
happens.
teams are these guys are the two teams who just say no to every trade out there. Is what it sounds like. But
Yeah,
what do you think, Coach?
Hey, look,
Yeah.
Rock Boys might have Tua and Kelsey. I mean, they might carry him. He may not need a whole lot after that, the
No,
way they've been putting up numbers.
I'd agree with that one.
Yeah, I think this is a game that Team Nate probably should have won, but chose not to put Christian Kirk in, and he's going to learn his lesson for that one. He definitely had the confidence to go with Trevor Lawrence, so you think he would have doubled down on this one. But hey, Rock Boys slips away with another one, and he's going to be at the top of this league now.
Yeah, we are tight in here. We'll look at the standings a little bit later, but I mean, getting 1.2 out of AJ Brown, I mean, geez, that's the difference right there. I mean, that's a guy. What he put up the other week, 13, 38, 15. I mean, getting 1.2 there is just not something that you're ever going to see. That's just unfortunate. But moving on here, another couple of interesting teams. As we see, Benjamin, left him in, felt like he didn't need him. Fentanyl got the win without him. Got Dalvin Cook look like himself again. Milkman just another low scorer. Some points on the bench, kinda, not really. Just an underperforming team. 7 out, only less than 8 out of Derrick Henry, and yeah, just Amon Ra. Got flashes again, but nothing out of Pierce. I mean, it's just that's a down. That's just a team that's underperforming all year, and we'll see. These guys, I think Fentanyl can hold his own and get into the playoffs, but Milkman's looking like it's going to be a maybe 5 max win season for him. But what are you seeing, Phenom?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a total disappointment. You got a running back that put up no points at all, and you still couldn't pull it off against them. So this has got to be a big letdown for the Milkman. And Fentanyl has been scraping by, and unfortunately, this is a team that is very, dynamic. Nothing's consistent with it. So hopefully next time I face this guy, I got a good shot. But I didn't have high expectations with the Andrews being out and then Lamar on his bye week, and somehow this guy pulled it off. So
Yeah, put up 104 without him, and they're both gonna be back. Andrew's gonna be healthy. Could be a team to look out for as long as he can solve that RB2 situation. But someone who knows RB problems, what are you thinking, Ryan?
Yeah, it's so bad that Benjamin actually got released by his team today.
Yeah,
After that poor fantasy performance. But no, I think Fentanyl is going to be a team to be reckoned with, having Andrews and Jackson, because they have a cupcake schedule the rest of the year. So he's going to be able to have some big games just between those two. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him near the end.
no,
Justin Herbert, though, has been trash this year. Not trash, but really not lived up to expectations.
started out great.
Yeah.
I talked about this last week, but I mean, really, last average since week 4. I mean, you'll take the 17, but not much else after
And then
that. Nothing. But
and Milkman, I don't know if you saw it, lost Goddard. Goddard's going to go to
Yep.
IR, it looks like. So that's
Yep.
going to be a big hit for him, because he's been putting up stats pretty regularly. So
yeah, and no tight end on the bench, so we're gonna see what moves he makes to figure out what guy he's gonna get. But that Goddard's a top end guy, and that's a tough loss for sure. But Milkman, like I said, season's looking a little bleak right now. But
yeah, tough to see 4 and 6 when you have Henry and Tyreek Hill on the same team. That's
absolutely shouldn't it
Interesting.
shouldn't be that way, not at all. All right, well, I'll let you take the lead on this one, Mr. Little Dicker Down.
Are we going to my team?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's pretty unfortunate. The past 2 weeks, I lost by a combined 9 points. I've
Good
been
homework. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been kind of carrying Josh Allen's coattails, and luckily he looked pretty healthy during the game. Actually, he did his part, but Swift is just not getting the touches. He's been a letdown after his injury. Patterson, I'm not too worried about that. That offense is going to run through him again.
That's kind of a
So,
fluky game there, I think, out of him. You're gonna get
yeah.
better than 4.
Good to see Matt Ryan really loved Paris Campbell. He got some touches. Kyle Pitts is just the worst person I've ever come across. Foreman looks like he's going to be a workhorse. So I'm even with the loss, I'm feeling pretty confident. But Risky Dipper pulling out a win, good for him. He's got 2 in a row right now. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I said Jackson Lamar, he's got a cupcake schedule. Chiefs actually have a cupcake schedule too. So he might have some games like this down the stretch where he's winning games just on the back of Patrick Mahomes. But look like Buffalo's going to get Singletary involved. I mean, they gave him a lot more touches this week.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Claypool fan since he went over to Chicago. That seems to be kind of a dud. But yeah, overall, I think disappointing to lose to a team that struggled, but now he's got 2 in a row. So I got to give him props where they're due.
Yeah, I'll just say, going to your team, I would just say, it looks like the receiving core is, Devontae's getting the ball like he used to in Green Bay, and Paris Campbell, like you said, Matt Ryan seems to like that guy, and they're targeting him a lot. If you look at the stats, I think he had 9 targets this past week, and that was the least he's had when Matt Ryan's been a quarterback in the last 3 games that he started. So Paris Campbell's getting the ball a lot. Big free agent waiver wire pickup for you for getting Foreman. I mean, that's a huge get. That kind of solves your problems. Like you said, Cordell's going to get better than 4, and Josh Allen's, he's a freak. So I think your team shows a lot of promise. And then as far as risky dipper, man, I mean, we could talk about Claypool, we could talk about Taysom Hill. Those are guys that probably got to get out of the lineup here. But man, yeah, like you said, Singletary moving. He took advantage of me dropping Jeff Wilson. And I thought he was going to be a stinker. I thought Mostert was going to be the guy in Miami, but apparently Jeff Wilson is just an absolute beast down there. And like you said, Mahomes and Aaron Jones is still a little bit up and down for me, but Risky Dipper definitely has a team. Garrett Wilson's on the uptrend. Donovan Peoples-Jones really consistent. Najee showing flashes with getting 10. I mean, and James Robinson, who knows what you're going to get out of that. So I think both these teams are really trending up, and putting up 119 and 115, you're beating most teams in the league, especially this week. So anything to add, Phenom?
Yeah, this is one that definitely took me by surprise here. I definitely, was thinking that Dicker Downs was going to pull it off. This is a team that, just started out outstanding and still has a bunch of studs in the lineup, but when you look into it, you definitely had a tough game with Minnesota for Josh Allen, and then the Cowboys defense has been like, pretty reliable, backbone for a while now, and just a freak week with Green Bay and Rodgers going off. I think the biggest, thing here is, you got some consistency. Devontae Adams is still putting up points, but the only downside is DeAndre Swift. He's sharing the ball a lot with Jamal Williams, and I just don't see him coming back, to fill the role that he had before, being they got Williams to share that running game. But I wouldn't be too worried about that. My biggest thing is these players off of Atlanta, these guys are just week after week not putting up the expected, and you got some good names in there. But one thing I may do is just look into a potential swap with some of those guys. They're pretty good folks. You might be able to trade them out. But other than that, I think we can expect to see Dicker Downs make a pretty significant comeback here. In the second half of the season. Getting into Risky Dipper, nothing significant to report here. So,
well, we'll take that as it is. But we 2 out of 3 said pretty nice things, and you can always count on Phenom for bringing up the defense. So, moving on here, another one that's man. I mean, Wuhan Weezer's getting through on these lucky wins. Beat Phenom last week in a low scorer, and
78 points.
Yeah, and putting up 90, and I mean that's going to lose to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, half a league. So not the worst performance. What's up?
Phenom pulled it off.
What? Jesus Christ. But just kind of looking at this one real quick. Weezer's got some potential in these first 2 guys here. First 3 really been playing well, but Rodgers seems to maybe found himself again. But the rest of this team, Jerry Jeudy going down is going to be hurt, and Keenan Allen, that's just a guy that can't get on the field. Phelan is always a hamstring pull away. So this lineup. And Ertz, I believe, went down as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, so a couple injury problems there moving into Weezer. Team Coleman, I don't know what to say here, man. This guy has probably the league MVP. Maybe not if the Eagles go on a little bit of a downswing here, but I mean, Zay Jones is your position player leader. Actually, Antonio Gibson with a decent day, but going into Monday night, Zay Jones was the guy on the team, which is something you should probably never say. But yeah, that's barely my takeaway here. Just close it out real quick, Ryan, on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman's an injury away from a really great team. You put Chase and Waddle together with Jalen Hurts, you got some steady running backs there. Montgomery's going to get some more touches this coming week with Herbert going down. So his team's not that far away, but they just underperformed this week. Weezer, he's going to be in some trouble, man. So you got Judy out, Ertz out. Schuster almost died on the field
That's true. Yeah.
this past week. Keenan Allen doesn't know how to play anymore. So I love McCaffrey, and I don't know what to get out of Rodgers anymore. But he showed up this week in a big game, and maybe he hits a run. But yeah, that's an interesting 5-5 team there.
Yeah. He's in position.
He's gonna have to make some moves around his receivers, probably though.
Yeah, something's gonna have to get figured out there. Yeah, I mean 5-5. He's right now, season ended today. He's in the playoffs. So, but without all those guys going down mid-game, still pulled out a win. And like you said, Jamar Chase may come back this upcoming week. We'll see, but if not this week, probably next week, and that'll probably be a big lift for Coleman if he's not too far out of the race. If he could squeak one out next week, he might be in okay position to try to get in the playoffs. But all right, Phenom, I'll let you talk about your 50.5 point loss here.
Good Lord.
And this was definitely not one of the higher performances of this team, but it's definitely a tough one. The number one player was on bye this week, Nick Folk. So
yeah, good point. Yep.
So much that can be done.
Still got 13 out of your kicker.
Yeah, Bass had a good game.
That's about half of what this team usually expects out of a kicker. Then Nick Chubb's usually, cracking 20, and same with Cooper Kupp. But, overall, I think even if these players had performed, including Kittle, to their top performance, in that flex position, you don't have a whole lot of strength on this team. And then, Connor among thieves, week after week, Georgia's team has just been performing, and there's not a single spot on this team that slacks, like this.
No.
Even a tight end is like putting up points. So this is definitely a team that is performing week after week, and then it's going to be a tough team to beat. I think the only thing we can hope for is that going into the playoffs, maybe this team takes the number 1 seed, and maybe Fentanyl takes the number 4, and we can at least knock Fentanyl out off the bat, and then the two teams can move on. But this is the team that's going to be reckoned with all the way to the end. This guy's got the number 1 seed.
Yeah, well, first of all, he would be playing the 8 seed, not the 4 seed. So just make sure you keep your numbers straight over that one. Might be hitting a little hard. But just to rub it in your face, you look at the bench real quick. James Conner and Gabe Davis putting up 40 of their own. That's half your freaking score on the bench. Doesn't even need it. And you're only getting 9 out of ETN. That guy's going to be getting 20 almost every week. This is far and above the best team in the league, in my opinion. And there really is not a close second.
Yeah, this is one I had high expectations going into it, with Burrow being on bye week, and then sure enough, Derek Carr just comes in and
solid day, 20 points.
So was not expecting that, and then it's just Titans had a good game. There wasn't much that could be done here. This team's secondary, his backup players are still solid. So, and then Justin Jefferson, let's talk about a play right there too. That was incredible.
Yeah. Dude's a superstar. But closes out here on the recap, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just echoing the same thing. I just don't see anybody competing with Georgia's team at this point, unless he has some sort of injury that happens. I mean, Etienne's going to be a workhorse moving forward after they traded away their other running back. Jacobs has been a workhorse all season. Hopkins is still that guy, and Jefferson is just head and shoulders above everyone else. I mean, there's just not a weakness. He's got Gabe Davis on his bench, who continues to get targets. Looking at Phenom, although he's been strong and had a strong record all season, he's going to have some decisions to make. I mean, you got Kupp going down, unfortunately, which that's just devastating.
At least 4 weeks too. So he's on IR. So be getting him back earliest week 1 of the playoffs, which tough.
And then just really no depth at receiver. He's got really good depth at running back. I mean, you got Chubb and Barkley who can carry you, but he might have some interesting matchups over the next couple of weeks without having Kupp.
Yeah, I think with Phenom, real quick, just if Chubb and Barkley can carry him to maybe 1, maybe 2 more wins, I mean, he's going to make the playoffs. Kupp coming back, we'll see, but pedestrian quarterback play pretty much being carried by that two running back system there, and for the most part, it's worked this year. But with Kupp going down, that really changes the game.
Yeah, I was working out today, and I got an announcement on my phone from the app too that said that Kupp's going to go on surgery. So it looks like he's out for the season, and then Metcalf's on bye next week. and so is one of my number one players, the quarterback Tom Brady, the GOAT. So, hopefully Cousins can carry me to a win against Dallas, but unfortunately,
Ooh,
there'll be no receiver depth at all, and
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
tough.
I like Kirk O'Janes a lot. I mean, I just think your team's really going to struggle here in this next 4 game window. Cut might not be done for the year. It'll be at least 4 weeks though, at minimum. So, just we're wrapping up this. We'll look at the standings real quick. Just kind of here's where we're at. George now got a two game lead, 100% making the playoffs. There's no question there. For some reason, I still got 79% at 5-5. I guess I'm deemed the best middling team out there. But just a lot of lot can happen, man. I mean, Team Nate's only 1 game out of the playoff spot, really. So it's anybody's game right now. Just looking at points for, no shock there. Leading the way. Here's the teams that talking about Wuhan, least points in the league, and he's in the playoffs, and that's just saying something. But I bet if we switch it over here, yeah, second to least points against, and that's very favorable for George too. Least points against. That's pretty interesting how that works out. But yeah, I mean, dude, be beating anybody anyway. So, yeah, we're all pretty tight. But I'm gonna end this call, and I'm just gonna start up a new one because we're under 10 minutes on this one. So we'll just hop in and go over next week's look. But any closing statements to end the week for the recap?
Just interesting the parity in the standings. You look at there's 10 teams within 2 games of each other. So the next couple weeks are really going to determine it. These next couple games are really big for each people in that middle group.
Absolutely.
one thing I just did just notice is looking at this view right here, you got Risky Dipper, second from the bottom, But then can you do the points against real quick?
Sure.
Interesting. That team really doesn't have a whole lot of points against compared to some other teams out here. So
I mean, he's middle of the pack, but I mean, there's definitely some teams that are getting by against some favorable matchups so far. But anyway, we'll just leave that at that. We'll
the reason I bring it up is I think this team on the up and up too, has a pretty good shot at knocking out some teams that might deal higher amounts of points. He's able to handle it. He's shown over the past couple weeks.
yeah,
Hit his
absolutely.
stride at the right time. He's won 2 straight now.
Definitely climbing that ladder. I think we can expect to see an inverse proportion between that team and potentially a team like Rock Boys. So
Yeah, you never know. But geez, 7 in a row for Connor Among Thieves. That's impressive stuff there. But all right, well, that sums up this one. We're gonna shift over and get the forward looking going. But